Udlakut, good afternoon. I am humbled to be here this afternoon. And before I start, let me just acknowledge the recent events in Saluit, where a young man, Joshua Papigaktuk, died at the hands of the police, and his brother is recovering from what I understand. So let me express my condolences to the community and all of you that are gathered here today. Thank you for allowing me to share a few words here today. Nakurmik, for having me here at Kaniksuyimak, and many of you call this beautiful land home for many, many millennia, and I'm grateful for your warm words, kindness, and hospitality. Let me acknowledge the many elders that spoke this afternoon based on your lived experience, the pain, the deep sense of loss, and the enormous weight that you've carried for decades. Until I came here, I read a great deal about what happened in the 50s and 60s. But until I talked to people directly, it's very hard to understand the depth of the loss that you have incurred. So let me express my deepest condolences to the loss that you've incurred. And for many of you, the livelihoods that you never recovered from. And I will make a formal apology, but I do want to just reflect on the conversations that we had this afternoon. It's truly moving, and I can't underscore how difficult it's been for you. This is the first event I've been to as either a member of parliament or as a minister. This has been almost 9 years and a bit, where every speaker has spoken in their language. I have not seen this elsewhere, and I know there's so many attempts to ensure that Indigenous languages are revitalized and restored and used. But this, to me, gives me an enormous amount of hope. Notwithstanding the efforts of governments to colonize and to undermine your ways of life and who you are as a people, just by the sheer fact that so many people are speaking the language, you are ensuring the long-term strength, agility, perseverance, resilience, and the success of the Inuit. And I can't tell you how important that is. I don't need to tell you how important this is. But it is something that I observed, and I'm so grateful to be able to do that. So to all the knowledge keepers, to all the language teachers, to all the elders, to everyone, I know, Alicia, you spoke about it in your remarks, to all of you who are ensuring that the language is front and center, I salute you, and I want to thank you. There's so much history here, and I've been to Kujwak, I've been to parts of Makivik, and I have been to Nunavik. I was in Nunavik earlier this year. And one thing that strikes me is how hard life is in the north. It's not easy. But notwithstanding the hardships, it is incredible to see the communities persevering towards strengthening each other, holding each other up high, and to ensure the long-term sustainability of the Inuit. And it is incredible to see. So I want to get to the formal piece of the apology. It is long, and it is something that I believe is essential for us to move forward. And while apologies and acknowledgments will not bring back what you lost, I hope it gives you some confidence that we can move forward together. I hope it gives you some closure and some element of humanity in a deeply inhumane act or acts that took place in the 1950s and 60s. And I hope that the young people, many of them were just walking in now and are already here, will understand that we are trying to make amends for our wrongs. And I hope that they take a lesson in acknowledging that when we make a mistake, we take responsibility. And in this case, far too long, far too late. But nevertheless, I think it's important. So let me formally offer this apology on behalf of Canada. The history of Inuit goes far beyond your relationship with those who came and settled on these lands we now call Canada. It is imperative that we as a country recognize that for thousands of years, Inuit navigated the Arctic's vast landscapes with unquestionable skill, guided by the wisdom of elders, community values, and their hardworking dog teams. Long before contact, Inuit had established rich cultures, governance systems, and social infrastructures that centered around community cooperation, adaptability, and respect for the land, sea, and animals, all of which can be reflected in Inuit law, knowledge, culture, and values. I'm here today to extend a formal apology on behalf of all Canadians and the Government of Canada for Canada's involvement in the Nunavik dog slaughter of the 1950s and 60s. It is important for me to be here in Kaneksuyak, Nunavik, for this apology, to be with you in one of the communities where it happened. The dog slaughter occurred across Nunavik, spreading grief and devastation from the brutality. For this, words are not enough to express the sorrow and regret we feel. The actions and inactions that led to the mass killing, the Khimit, inflicted deep pain and hardship on Inuit families, and none have had to endure. I've heard from elders of the horror of the mass killing of the dogs that occurred in this community. The Khimit were shot, burnt in a pile on the ice in front of the owners, and the remains were left there for the winter, forcing the community to be reminded daily of the violence and trauma of losing their dogs. The inhumanity of these actions is difficult to comprehend today. We are here today not only to recognize this injustice, but to renew our commitment to reconciliation, healing, and the protection of the Inuit way of life. By the end of the dog slaughter, only a few Khimit remained in Nunavik, and many communities lost all their dogs. The Khimit were a crucial and deeply significant part of Inuit life, allowing for hunters to provide for their families and communities, for mobility across the land and sea, and to provide safety and protection. When the dogs were killed, Inuit were abruptly forced into settlements, adopting a non-Inuk way of life that severed their vital connection to the animals, land, and sea, as well as the traditions that had been passed down for as long as can be remembered. This caused immense pain and trauma as Inuit lost their livelihood and endured immeasurable changes to their culture and society, which can still be felt to this day. Through the profound words of Inuit elders, youth, community members, and leaders, I've heard of the deep pain that the dog slaughter caused and continues to cause their communities. Families who lost their dogs still carry the pain with them. The harm has been passed on to the younger generations through intergenerational trauma and has contributed significantly to the mental health crisis in Nunavik. The federal government takes responsibility for its role in the dog slaughter. When it started in the 1950s, the killing of the dogs was done under federal authority, although federal officials were aware that the dogs were essential to Inuit for traveling to camps for hunting. Within Inuit communities in the 1950s, the RCMP were utilized to police and enforce federal policies that disrupted traditional ways of life and contributed to the systemic marginalization of Inuit. Throughout the 1950s and 60s, federal officials knew that the dog slaughter was occurring and allowed it to continue, aware that Inuit way of life, health, and well-being depended on the dogs. This was a horrendous betrayal by those who were tasked to support and live in partnership with Inuit who are present in your communities. This has created immense distrust toward the federal government, including the police. More harm was caused by federal responses that did not fully acknowledge the role of the federal government, including the 2006 RCMP report that has been particularly painful for your communities. RCMP are here in community with us to show their support of this apology and to affirm their commitment to rebuilding trust, fostering reconciliation efforts, and building relationships with Inuit. This formal apology is one of the steps the federal government is taking to reconcile that relationship in an effort to rebuild the trust with you. This apology should have been made a long time ago. Starting in 1999, Inuit leaders, especially Makivik President Pita Atami, have called for this apology. It should not have taken decades for Canada to apologize to Nunavik Inuit for the role of the federal government played in the dispossession and devastating loss of the sled dogs, who acted as your companions and kin. We're also sorry that because we waited, many whose lives were affected by the dog slaughter are not with us to hear this apology. It is their memory and leadership that Inuit maintained a strong position for this apology, as well as a stewardship over Inuit Nunangat. There's no place for these actions and inactions and this way of thinking in the Government of Canada's relationship with Inuit. The Inuit-Crown relationship should be based on equality, respect, understanding, and trust, and support the self-determination of Inuit, and we're committed to collaborating with Inuit on this basis, with the intention of building a better future together. On behalf of the Government of Canada and all Canadians, I am sorry. I'm sorry. Please forgive us. Isu magiyunai tuga mavu Gut. I'm sorry for the government's actions and inactions that caused the dog slaughter and allowed it to continue for so many years. Canada apologizes for the pain and harm the dog slaughter caused to your communities for generations. In my time, I've been fortunate enough to meet and listen to Inuit leaders and elders who've emphasized to me that Inuit are resilient, determined, and have persevered through this devastation and have always been adaptable to their environment. Because of your strength, Inuit have not lost their language, culture, and identity. Hunting and the land are still integral to who you are. Being on the land and in relation to the animals are still integral to who Inuit are. Since the dog slaughter, Inuit-led initiatives have worked to reintroduce and help bring back the sled dogs to your communities. These initiatives have supported dog owners, preserved generational knowledge, and enabled hunters to continue practicing traditional ways of life on the land. One of the longest-running Inuit-led initiatives is the Ikak race, which Makivik has been running for over 20 years as a celebration of dog sledding and a demonstration of Inuit resilience and strength. Inuit should never have been left to bear the burden of addressing the pain and suffering caused by these forced atrocities alone. It is long overdue for the federal government to step forward and to be an active partner in bringing meaningful solutions to heal these wounds. This is a first step of many in a resolution. The Government of Canada and Makivik will continue to work in partnership towards reconciliation. Inuit have always shared a profound connection to the land and to the Khimit for as long as history has been recorded, first through oral histories and later with written records. This bond is integral to Inuit culture, heritage, and way of life. The Government of Canada recognizes and honors this enduring relationship and is committed to building a brighter future together, founded on mutual respect and equality. As I stand here with you today, I'm reminded of the deep connection Nunavik have to this land and the importance of preserving your culture, traditions, and stories for future generations. In addition to this official apology, my department will also be working with Makivik to allocate $45 million in funds that will go directly to Nunavik Inuit communities to help implement programs that will promote healing and cultural revitalization. Today's apology and funding announcement mark important steps in our shared journey. While these actions cannot undo the past, they acknowledge the harm caused and commit to making things right because it is the right thing to do. The United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples guide us in this work. It reminds us that Indigenous peoples have the right to maintain and strengthen their distinct cultural institutions, traditions, and systems while determining their own path forward. Today's apology and funding are a reflection of Canada's commitment to upholding these principles and ensuring they're not just words on paper, but a living reality in our relationships and actions. Let us leave here today with a renewed commitment to learn from the past, to honor the stories and wisdom of Nunavik, and to build a future rooted in respect, fairness, mutual understanding. Nakurmik, thank you.